Okay, it's recording. RIP to the GOAT. Let's see how many movies Pirates of the Caribbean. I wrote that wrong. Caribbean. They have 5 movies. I've watched the first one, which is when the white guy wait, they're all white. I forgot the pretty guy joins the crew. That's Van Chest. That's the one with the coin, right? At World's End. Which one is this? Is this the Davy Jones? Yeah, that's Davy Jones. I watched that one. That was amazing. That's the one that this video is based on. I'm pretty sure. 1 year ago? Damn. And I haven't watched this. On Strange Tides. Is this the one with the skeleton? No. Yeah, this is the skeleton guy, right? The one that doesn't die? Never mind, it's the mermaid one. I think I watched this one loosely, like I didn't really pay much attention. Because I'm not gonna lie, by this movie I was already lost. Like, what's the plot? What are they doing? Dead Man Tales. Is that the one with they go into like another world or something? Yeah, they're like consumed by waves. Yeah, it's this one, right? For this one, I was also lost. I watched it, I had fun, but don't even ask me what happened in the movie. Like, for these two, it was like, what? What's going on? I feel like they just took it to another level.
Is often regarded as the best looking CGI character of all time. But why? Because whilst he was the first ever—
Why? Look at him. Like, compare this to— fuck, I don't wanna— it's Marvel, right? 2025. What's a Marvel movie? Let's do this one. Fuck. Double click. Okay, there it is. Let's search for this. Let's look at the CGI here. Why is he skinny? Anyways. Okay. Forget CGI. Look at this fucking cost. They look like such pussies. Compare this like gritty, dark thing, monster, with this shit. Dude. Like, it looks low quality. Whatever, let's look at another movie. The Fantastic Four doesn't really have a lot of effects when it comes to CGI, I feel like. Which one should have CGI? Captain America, that's just a shield guy. Doomsday's whatever, Secrets. Zombies, let's do Thunderbolt. It has thunder, so it probably has some CGI. I guess I'd have to watch a video to see the CGI. There's not gonna be pictures, right? Whatever. Basically, it looks cheap. It's just like small light going forward, going around. Oh, I know who can show. Doctor Strange magic. That should help, right? Like, it's just what is it? Is he welding? Because this looks like welding. Is he just like this? It doesn't look impressive. He's just running. Okay, let's see the magic. Wow. This is so dude, it's just pathetic. Like, how are we devolving so much?
The character to use that on-set motion capture technology, which meant that his actor, Bill—
Dude, look at this.
It's the first ever character to use that on-set.
Even here, the lighting sucks, but it was made like a long time ago, so it's like whatever.
Motion capture technology.
Look at them. Isn't this so cool? Like, this is a fucking nightmare creature.
Which meant that his actor, Bill Nighy, could be present on
Like,
the
they
film's
actually-
on-set motion capture
Sorry for
technology.
fucking so much. They look like abominations. I mean, they kind of are. Like, they actually look like creatures that
Which
are
meant
in
that his
the sea.
actor, Bill
Not in
Nighy,
the
could
sea,
be
in
present
real
on
life.
the film set and actually able to interact with the cast around him. Him being the first means that every other CG character that followed him also with the cast around him. Him being the
I'm pretty sure it's called Cat. It's called Davy Jones, right? Fuck. This isn't even like, this is like hand drawn. This is just from the movie, I'm pretty sure. Can I bring this up? Whatever. Look at the look at the difference. Like, like why not just? It's called Cat. It's about cat. Go full cat. Like, look at this. He went full squid. Do you see his nose? No, you don't. It's a squid. Squid. I mean, they can have a beak, but a beak is a mouth. Look at the tentacles, the skin. What the fuck is this? It looks like a human with cat ears and makeup. It's fucking horrible. I mean, to be fair, Superman doesn't have CGI. Superman's like, it's a man with a dress, not a dress, a costume. So it's like whatever. I don't know what this one is. I've seen the face, but I don't know the movie. This looks like
first means
Superman.
that every other CG
This looks like a Thor Star Wars. Like, to be fair, to the guy making the video, like, a lot of these aren't really CGI. Like, this isn't really CGI, it's just a costume. Superman is a costume, it's not really CGI. This looks fake somehow because of the skin. Like, they definitely edited this. This is mostly a costume, it's not CGI. Now, this one is...
CG character that followed
doesn't
him
look like
also had
CGI.
access to the same technology. In fact, they presumably had access to better versions of it. So why did we get such diminishing returns in quality?
Skill. It's so easy to make it that they're lazy. They're like, oh, like I don't have to do all this, so why would I try hard? Because if you have to do something for a long time, the end product, it's gonna be perfect. Do you know why? Because you spend a lot of time doing it. But because it's so easy to just do this, like you just put a face, put a like a mask or whatever it is with a camera, and then you're done. It's like, okay, it's super easy, so let's just do it fast and get it done with. Because you don't spend too much time on it, you don't care about it as much.
Versions of it. So why did we get such diminishing
what?
returns
0.28 seconds to the video. This is camera. Baby Jones outfit time to make. Like how long did it take to make? It doesn't say. It probably took a long time though. Okay, it doesn't say. But it probably took long enough that they actually cared about it.
in quality, when
So they
surely
put a
they
lot
should have
of
just
effort.
gotten better and better and better?
I'm
Well,
gonna stop
this is
talking
exactly
further,
the
by the way.
question we're going to answer in this video, by breaking down why Davy Jones works so well, and where all of these other characters are going so wrong, and why Davy Jones works so well, and where all of these other characters are going so...
Its name is Megamind, right? The- uh, I don't know, I think the character is just ugly in general, right? Like, what's the name? Modoc? Yeah, actually, never mind. Okay, no, it is different. You see this guy? He looks like an old man. He's just grumpy, fucked. That just looks like doesn't look like him. He's too happy.
So wrong, and why all of this transcends just the use of CGI and comes down to something a lot more than that. So let's dive into the soggy world of Davy Jones' visual effects and definitively answer once and for all why he was the pinnacle of photorealism. So I believe a massive reason why Jones looks so realistic comes from the fact that the primary point of focus for this character isn't on epic action scenes or big dramatic speeches, but instead on pure emotionality. Because
To be fair, Thanos doesn't really like. It's just a bald man with a purple skin. Let's be honest. Like, I guess the shin has CGI. And these lines are probably CGI. Then again, they could just be meat from the guy's actual head. But yeah, there's not really a lot of CGI yet. Because the armor itself, like, it's a costume, right? The armor isn't CGI, they actually have an armor. It's probably made of plastic or whatever, but they do have it probably.
Speeches, but instead on pure emotionality. Because underneath that soggy wet skin and living tentacle beard, Davy Jones is just a regular guy who's been twisted and tortured by the choices of his past, and all of that is brought to life via both this raw stage presence that he had, but also by the technical workings going on behind the scenes that had to be elevated to such a high level to allow such an emotionally driven performance to be crafted completely out of CGI. Because in using that on-set motion capture technology, his actor, Bill Nighy, had the opportunity to infuse Jones with something genuinely human. Because unlike CG villains in other films, who are primarily present in just action scenes and maybe one or two other dialogue scenes.
Another thing, I know I said I wasn't gonna pause, but it's important. It's that though these movies take themselves seriously, like Pirates of the Caribbean, it had humor, it had like jokes like Marvel does sometimes. But when it came to like serious scenes, they were serious. They didn't make jokes out of them. Unlike with Marvel, where there's a serious scene, then it's like, ooh, someone farted, ha 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 ha.
Most of Davy Jones' appearances are instead just pure dialogue. In fact, in Dead Man's Chest, I don't think Jones has a single action scene. And so this means that for an entire film, everything about Jones was centered purely around the character's dialogue, reactions, and interactions. In addition to all of these emotional subtleties, dialogue, reactions, and
this is why you don't need action. Look at him. He doesn't need to beat your ass for you to be afraid of him.
Interactions. In addition to all of these emotional subtleties going on just underneath the surface of his performance. All of which work to build Jones up into this living, breathing person who can actually respond to the events around him with believable and predictable emotion. But now, obviously, a great performance alone isn't enough for good CGI, because you can have the best actor in the world and it can still look pretty bad. So there's got to be a technical side to this performance as well. Yep. Something going on under the surface that allowed this digital facial performance to manifest itself as unbeatably realistic. And now you might immediately think, well, that's just because it's motion captured, right? They just recorded Bill Nighy's face and mapped that onto Davy Jones, and that's why it looks so realistic. But this is absolutely not the case. In fact, this is one of the biggest misdirections around VFX.
True, yeah, because he's not a human, he's a squid. So if you put his face animations onto the squid face, what happens is there's some uncanny thing going on. Because his nose is gonna move, it's gonna expand, you know, because he's breathing. But the squid doesn't have a nose, so it's gonna look weird that it's expanding and moving. A human doesn't have tentacles, so are the tentacles just gonna be still? Yeah, you can't animate it as a human because it's not a human.
CG characters, and it's been purposefully spread by the film studios, because in reality motion capture is never good enough for the final performance that goes up on a big cinema screen. And so more often than not, this data is only ever really used as a baseline or a reference point, and animators still have to go in and rework this entire performance themselves. And so by only saying, oh yeah, we used motion capture to get the actor's authentic performance, and then omitting the second part where these animators slaved away for hours on the back end, the studios can distance themselves from the negative press CGI gets and come out of this looking like they actually care about art. And so if it's...
Wait, what am I apologizing for? Yeah, they're lazy. That's why it doesn't look as good as before.
Animators and other artists who are the ones refining the performances of all of these motion captured characters, what is the technical factor that gave Jones's performance an edge over the rest of them?
I won't stop it.
Well, I believe this edge came from the fact that, seemingly, the VFX artists have done everything they possibly can to occlude as much of Jones's skin as possible from the audience, as skin is probably the single hardest thing to get looking right with CGI.
Yeah.
Because, in real life, it's so flipping complex, with even the tiniest of movements generating a myriad of subtle responses across our skin, like bulging, stretching, wrinkles, color deformation, etc. And so, to create a realistic CG character, you also have to perfectly recreate all of these details as well, which means the more skin you show, then the more and more of these subtleties you need to account for. Meaning, if you take a character who...
Also, the more your detailed it is, the longer it takes to buffer. Or not buffer, whatever it's called.
Showing a lot of skin like Thanos or...
So a lot of times you don't actually want to do a lot of skin because it takes too long. And then you have to edit it and submit it again when you edit it. And it takes long again. Yeah.
Azog the Defiler from The Hobbit,
like
then you have to do a lot more work with their skin to keep them looking realistic than you would with Davy Jones. Because yeah, you need to generate all of these skin responses for him too, but only for his face, because they'd hidden his entire body and even the top of his head under multiple layers of much easier to do and a lot less important to an emotional performance CGI clothing. And this meant the artists only had to focus their efforts on this crucial facial area, allowing them much more time to refine it to a high level than if they also had to account for the rest of his body's skin.
Yeah, it's true. And the thing is, you don't notice it because it's like it's such a cool outfit. It's like you don't think about that. Look at him, he has like.
And so when you combine this high-level animation with all of those brilliant, subtle facial movements and inclinations in Bill Nighy's performance, and tie all that in with Jones's beautiful tragedy of a backstory, it gives you this genuinely compelling character with a powerful narrative, and it actually makes it quite hard to see Jones as something generated inside of a computer when both his animation and the building blocks of his character are just this strong. But now, there is still more to a good CG character than just their performance. So, in mentioning characters like Azog, this does bring me to my next point, which is that Davy Jones is just the perfect example of using CGI where you actually need CGI and then doing something completely different with the opportunities that that CGI presents. Because if you look at Azog or other similar villains, aside from his massive height, did he really need...
That's what I was saying. Like, it doesn't look like CGI. It looks like a dude with a painted skin. That's why I thought, wait, why are you putting these as CGI? Like I said in a 550. Let's see if I can find it. When he showed like multiple pictures, like her, it doesn't look like that CGI. It looks like it's just a woman with green skin. Whatever. I won't be able to see it. Like Thanos, it's just a bald dude with a big head that's purple. Like you just put purple paint on him. Or makeup. Like, you don't need CGI for this. You can just do it normally
to be CGI? Because they do nothing special with him being CGI. It doesn't unlock any new narrative potential or interesting fight scenes or anything, really. And so that just leaves this bitter taste in your mouth because you're sat there looking at this unappealing blob thinking, why? Why did they do this? None of the orcs in the original Lord of the Rings were CGI, and they all looked brilliant. But with Davy Jones, the filmmakers went out of their way to do interesting things with him being CGI.
Well, yeah, I mean, they kind of had to, no? Because without it being CGI, how do you make the tentacles so lifelike? For him blowing smoke through this like tentacle pipe, I guess you could just put like a smoke something here and strap it, then like just press a button whenever you need to do it. You could do that, but the timing would be a little off. The tentacles, you could probably use string or something from like above and have someone move it, like control it, I guess, but it wouldn't be as good since the range of motion would be limited. There are you probably couldn't do this, to be fair. There are alternatives to like not using CGI for him, but they will look worse. Unlike for
having
the other
him
guys.
dramatically play the organ with his beard of tentacles and all the characterization that comes along with that, or hiding a key.
Sorry, I have to put it on. Like, I love Pirates of the Caribbean, the first like couple movies at least. Oh, it's your piano. Guys, you're not as important as the actual Davy Jones. Come on. I'm gonna mute myself so I don't make a noise.
James Norrington, what has the world done to you?
Look at this. Like, is it? I can't find a good frame because of the rain. It looks a bit weird. Not weird, like blurry. But look at this. Like, this looks weird. It looks off-putting, but it looks like it fits the scene. But I don't want to get copyright claim, so let's not look at it too much.
In there as part of the narrative, or just straight up murdering a guy with them, all of which couldn't have been done without CGI, and yet works to bring in the audience something completely new and very much helps to justify the use of it. But what made this beard truly genius and crucial to Jones's realism is how said beard takes this whole skin hiding technique we mentioned earlier to the next level, as by having it cover only his lower face, they drew a perfect line between having humanoid features and achieving photorealism. Because whilst this beard did still present the VFX artist with its own set of challenges, such as having to write custom programs to calculate the sticky yet autonomous movements of each tentacle, if Jones didn't have this beard and we could instead see his chin and his neck, then not only would the VFX artist have to again account for all the tiny little muscles in there whenever he spoke or breathed, but more importantly, Jones would begin to look closer and closer to
beards are OP. Like, they make you look better, they make you look more like a gentleman, they help you hide shit. Like, they're the perfect thing.
your average human, and this means he would begin to edge into the territory known as the uncanny valley, which is a scientific phenomenon where the closer to a human something fake looks, the more likely our brains are to reject it. Because we are so used to looking at human faces and features that once something is sufficiently close enough to looking like a real human, our brains kick in and begin to subconsciously criticize it and pull it apart and just find these tiny little subconscious flaws with it. And so
didn't he show like a robot that looks human for this part? He's talking about the uncanny valley, right? But these are humans. So he's not really showing.
That's why a photorealistic
Then again, who am I to complain? I don't edit my videos.
CG human still hasn't really been done yet without the use of deepfakes and stuff. Whereas, you have no idea what a living tentacle beard should 100% correctly look like. And so by giving him this fantastical beard, they pulled Jones out of the uncanny valley, stopping our brains from reading him as a fellow human face, which in turn stops that criticism instinct from kicking in, and therefore lets our brains relax around him and more easily accept him as something real. But this was
like, his nose is removed, his ears are removed. He has like a gas pack, like a squid gas, not a squid, like an octopus. gas thing.
only the
behind
tip of the brilliance of this beard. Because what made this even more genius was that by keeping the elements of his face that are crucial to portraying emotion, like the eyes, the mouth, and these somewhat eyebrow things, on full display to the audience, whilst only changing the secondary emotional elements of his face, like his skin texture and of course his entire lower face of the beard, then they struck this perfect balance of a character whose face can tell any story, whilst also having such alien features that our brains just accept it, therefore crafting a balance of an emotional human character and CGI realism that very few other characters have ever managed to find. And now, from here, speaking of his skin, very few other characters have ever managed to find.
You won't like me when I'm mad. I let the wolf out.
And now, from here, speaking of his skin, this does bring us to another really major factor that contributed to his realism. The genius use of lighting in this film, and how that plays so well with the reflective design
Yeah,
of his
it's
constantly
dark
wet skin.
always.
Because around
But there's still, like,
90% of the time,
It's dark, but there's still like glittering of light on his skin being like reflected. So you can see like tiny details, but you can't see a lot of it.
in these films, Davy Jones is shown under one of two types of lighting, either the intense Caribbean sun or the shadowy nighttime, both of which massively complement his visual effects. Because visual effects is a bit like a magic trick. It's an illusion designed to trick your brain, and much like a real magic trick, the less you show your audience, the more they're going to believe in your illusion. And so, dark lighting is obviously ideal for this, because all of this darkness is just going to occlude your CGI naturally. But how does pure daytime brightness hide anything? Well, this plays in masterfully with the reflective nature of his skin, and this is why film hide anything.
Oh, wait,
well, this
he-
plays in
He's
masterfully
normal here, right? Yeah, you don't see the shadow.
with the
So that's like an interesting thing they did. Because his shadow should be like right here, no? No, I guess here. You don't see tentacles or anything
reflective
like that.
nature of his skin, and this is why films like Transformers and the first Iron Man look so good in the bright daytime, because these bright reflections can
Yep,
get
lighting
so
is
bright that they too technically occlude detail, because the reflective
Like God of
surface
War,
just
for
turns
example,
into this
uses
bright,
lighting really well
overexposed,
for just
detailless
standing apart.
highlight. And when you combine this with the heavy shadows also cast by bright daylight,
that
which
way,
plunge
that's
areas of the
fine,
character
it's
into
good.
darkness, you suddenly
that's
have
so old.
quite a high amount of your character naturally occluded from the audience. And then this reflectivity also goes to the next level with Davy Jones because of a thing VFX artists call subsurface scattering. Which, in very short, is why stuff like, for example, lighter skin has that milky haze to it. Because when light penetrates it, it bounces around within it for a while, diffusing
blood.
itself within like the blood vessels in the skin and stuff, and causing that cloudy look, and then bouncing back out to our eyes again. And so, because this is a natural phenomenon, to look real, CGI skin also needs to replicate this too. But all of this light bouncing around within the surface of an object is a flipping lot for a computer to calculate and get looking right, particularly back in 2005, which is actually why a lot of characters had that rubbery plastic look.
I know it looks shitty, but the movie, I remember, I was a kid, so maybe I'm wrong. I remember it was good. Like, I had a fun time. Also, this is the last boss. Like, he only appears, like here, he gets killed and it's done. And he doesn't even appear for much, because after they show him like this, it shows the two armies fighting. So yeah, it's like, it looks shitty, but it's momentarily shitty.
Look back then, because the computers just weren't able to calculate this under the skin light diffusion correctly. However, if you were to cover that skin with something reflective, say water, then a lot of that light will just get bounced away instead, thus reducing the need for this light diffusion effect, and therefore making it much easier to get a realistic result. And so, as the cursed captain of the seas, Davy Jones could believably have constantly wet skin, and could therefore uniquely take advantage of all of these reflectivity perks in a way that basically no other CGI character can, which
Yeah,
further
he was good.
massively enhances his
And
visual
octopus.
quality, especially when in comparison to every other character. And so with all of this, it finally brings me on to those subtle little details that add the icing on the cake to Davy Jones's visual quality. Stuff like how these films were packed with real stunts, explosions and sets and miniatures, all of which accumulate to make a much more real and visceral film experience that could have very easily have gotten lost
it
if
looks
these
more
films
real because it
incorporated
is
too much
real, right?
CGI.
They're
Or
using
another
sets,
big thing that
like
gets
a real
overlooked,
boat.
no pun intended, is the height of Davy Jones relative to his actor. Because nowadays, CG character heights can be whatever you want them to be, which means that on set you have
True, but it looks bad. Because if you're small and if you're big, there's a difference in between how you walk due to gravity. gravity, leg length. Like some people have big strides when they have big feet, but if you're small, you can just waddle.
Have
Not
actors
waddle, but
crawling
you know what I
around
mean.
in contraptions to compensate for these new heights and postures, and this has to detract from the realism to some degree. And so when you have Bill Nighy basically standing at Jones's height, it just allows for that further level of authenticity that other films can't really reach. And so overall, I think a lot of these interesting little decisions came from the director himself, Gore Verbinski, having come from a VFX background, as he'd worked in VFX for many years prior to making these films, and so probably had a great sense of the limits of CGI and what to do and not to do with it, and how to tie
Rip
all of this
to the
up
guy.
with a pretty bow
Got
on top
fucked by
and make a
some girl.
great looking CG character. And so, in short, Davy Jones is just the perfect example of
girl that
stacking the
shits the
deck
bed,
in your
by the way.
favour by getting everything right, particularly the lighting, the skin and the clothes. And it's something that modern CGI characters just don't seem to do anymore, making it harder and harder for them to reach that same bar of visual perfection. But you know what? I'm actually perfectly fine with that, because I don't want to see the same thing every time of a CG character covered in clothes at night and made to be soaking wet just to be reflective. I want to see variety, and so it's great that these big budget
I don't know. I like the look and I like the setting, but I am a weird guy. Like I really like that kind of setting, like a big cloak, dark covered, mysterious vibe. And I'd say I'd rather see 20 of these guys than where is he? Than like this shit. 1303. Then see this shit.
human characters.
Like you can do a lot better, man. Like it looks so uncanny.
Big budget films are trying to push the envelope each and every time.
And like you don't have to look these look good. You don't have to look bad. Like you don't have to look like him. You can find some other techniques to still look better with CGI.
To evolve CGI technology and hopefully bring us new and different stories.
But I heard
However,
otherwise.
there is still a lot that modern day projects can learn from Davy Jones. Because if your budget is low or your timeline is tight, you really should take these advantages where you can. But what do you guys think? Are there any CG characters that have progressed beyond Davy Jones? And if so, why do you think that these characters worked where so many others have failed?
I should
Oh,
dislike
and also-
the video just for putting that shit in.
So, I just wanted to
Fucking
give a
disgusting.
massive shout out and thank you to my
It's just-
first episode.
Dude, it's just a furry movie. Like some furry wanted to make his own movie. It's 1 year ago. A lot of people probably have seen this. It's a great video. Dude, I wonder how long this video is gonna be because I did pause a lot here, but I love this movie. Fucking hell, this and the one with the coin and the undead guy.
So realistic, but this
the
is
scene
absolutely
where he
not the
blows out of
case.
here?
In fact, this is one of
He got it. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you in the next video, hopefully. Bye bye.